Good morning. It is good to see you this morning. It's a beautiful day to be worshiping the Lord. As Brother Gene was making announcements this morning, I couldn't help but think we've got a lot of people here that are recovering from surgeries, have surgeries upcoming, and people that are sick and not with us. And as I stand up and look around this morning, there are several that are missing. And we need to remember them in our prayers because we know that God can heal better than any physician on the planet. So let's remember them and hope that they are back with us soon, that they are not just given a portion of their health back, but all of their health, because we know that God can do that. And we don't want to limit God sometimes in our request. But it is good to see. Our study this morning is one that is really somewhat simple. One that I think we need to think about more and more. I think as we get older, we think about it more, just because of the nature of what it is. But I think it's something that we need to be reminded of, and that sometimes we take for granted. I want to start off, as we do from time to time, making some statements and asking some questions just to get our minds centered around our study this morning. I think we can all say that there is great value in having true friends. Great value in that. We all have friends. Some are closer than others. We have worldly friends. We have Christian friends. We all need friends. But there's great value in having true friends. Do you have true friends? We'll talk more about what true friends are in just a few moments. But do you have true friends? You know, the Bible has a lot to say about friendship. And it gives many, many examples, both of what true friends are and some that think they had true friends until they didn't. The Bible has a lot to say about that. The friendship between Christians should be one of the closest earthly bonds. I was reminded of that yesterday. At Oak Mountain, we had Brother Marty Broadwell come over Friday night and all day yesterday and speak to just the men on how to teach. Teaching specifically middle school, high school, and adult classes, college classes. And just how to teach and how to design those classes and really get the most out of the time in which we have in those classes. And there was about 40 or so men that were there that were present. And we had a lunch break, and we all went to a few different places, but a group of us went to another place to eat. And as I was sitting there and we were talking about different things with different individuals, and I had individual conversations with different ones, I just sat there and I thought, of course this study was on my mind, about how good it is to have good Christian friends and the bond that you have together. It's one that we should want, one that we should strive for. We're going to study friendship this morning. We're going to study the friendship of David and Jonathan. And by so doing, hopefully we're going to learn how to be a better friend. We're going to examine our friendships. We're going to examine some of our so-called friendships. and to see if they are the kind of friendships that we need, or maybe some that we may need to put out to pasture, so to speak. So we're going to talk about true friendship this morning. Proverbs 18 and verse 24, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. We probably all have that friend, or have had that friend at one point that is as close as family, or maybe even closer than family. Well, why do we talk about friends? Why do we need to study to see what God's Word says about friends? You see, friends have a tremendous impact on our daily lives. Friends can help us get to heaven, or they can hinder us. And we need to be aware of that. But also, a study of friendship helps us, hopefully, as Christians, grow closer together. That we will see that we need the friendship of the brethren. We're going to see what true friendship is. And how, as Christians, it's important for us to be good friends. Well, looking at true friendship this morning, first and foremost, friends should be honest with one another. In today's society, honesty is lacking. We all know that. I see it on a daily basis, even between high school and middle school kids. Honesty and friendship is definitely lacking. I've heard friends say one thing to each other, and then one of them walk away and they'll turn and say something else to me about it. But as Christians, we need to be honest with our friends and our fellow Christians. In 1 Samuel chapter 20 there, in the first 3 verses here with David and Jonathan, it says in 1 Samuel chapter 20, beginning in verse 1, it says, Then David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and came and said before Jonathan, What have I done? What is my guilt? And what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life? And he said to him, Far from it, you shall not die. Behold, my father does nothing, either great or small, without disclosing it to me. And why should my father hide it from me? It is not so. But David vowed again, saying, Your father knows well that I have found favor in your eyes. And he thinks, Do not let Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, there is but a step between me and death. We see a setup here of David and Jonathan, and we see here that of course Jonathan's father Saul, we know that he's tried to kill David. But we see that David and Jonathan are still very close, to the point that Jonathan is going to take care of David. And we all are familiar with this story between the two. You've probably studied this as Jonathan and David is being true friends before in the past. I was looking back through my notes and have never presented a lesson on it. But I think that it's one that's good for us to study. But friends should be honest with one another. We know that Saul, who was Jonathan's father, wished for David to be dead. Tried to kill him. But yet, Jonathan and David were still close friends. Closer than, as we see here, family. But David did not sacrifice honesty when he was speaking with Jonathan. You know, the truth sometimes is hard. But if you value each other as friends, you will speak the truth. True friendship should be one that is able to discuss things openly, no matter what it is. Advice should be welcome. And that advice should be respected. In Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 9, oil and perfume make the heart glad, and the sweetness of a friend comes from his earnest counsel. A true friend will tell you the truth. A true Christian friend will tell you when you're in sin. Or possibly maybe when you're about to commit sin. We as Christians need to be honest with one another. Just as a true friendship, you have honesty with one another. No matter how big, how small, how difficult it may be, that honesty is always there. And you know without question that it's there. And that you can rely on that friend. Some of you may be thinking about, well, my spouse is my best friend, and I would say the same. You know, sometimes she can be a little rough, telling you the truth. Sometimes it's not quite seasoned with that sweetness there, but I know that honesty is there, and it's only for my benefit. And I think some of us men can probably say the same thing. You should be able to discuss things openly. Oftentimes in a friendship, you see a problem, but you're timid, you're scared to discuss it with that person. Why? If you have that friend's best interest at heart, you should be able to discuss those things openly. Trust should exist between good friends. That trust should always be there. It should be one that never wavers. You can trust them with your life. In Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 28, a dishonest man spreads strife, and a whisper separates close friends. You need to have a friendship such that nothing can come between you, especially when you're both focused on being the Christian that you ought to be. Trust, honesty. They should be characteristics of a Christian, not just of a friend, but of a Christian. In Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 9, whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Honesty can help make the friendship stronger. Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 17, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. When friends work together, when they grow together, they have the same goals, they have the same, especially goal of heaven, the same outlook on life. You grow closer and closer together. And I think you see that more, at least in my experience, as you get older. You grow closer and closer to those friends who have the same thoughts, the same aspirations, especially when it comes to that of eternity. True friendship is one that is honest with one another, one that is based upon trust. There's many more passages that we could read on that. But thinking along those lines, again, of being honest with one another, friendship thrives on honesty. But it deteriorates by empty words and empty actions and the love of money. You see, saying things and doing things are two totally different things. You say that you're going to do something and you don't do it. Or you do something because you expect something in return. You see this in the pro athletes and movie stars often, that they have all these friends around them because they have a lot of money. Those are fake friends. They're only there because they can maybe get a little bit extra money, or you've got enough money that you can spend some on them and take them on lavish vacations and nice places to eat. Look at a lot of these movie stars and athletes and singers and their entourage of people. Are those true friends? No. Why? Because I doubt that they would be honest with them if it really came down to it. Because if they were, they'd get mad. They would send them on their way. But a true friend looks out for the other. They're honest. They don't spill empty words. Proverbs chapter 27, again in verse 14. Whoever blesses his neighbor with a loud voice, rising early in the morning, will be counted as cursing. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 4. Wealth brings many new friends, but a poor man is deserted by his friend. That's exactly what we're just talking about. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 6. Many seek the favor of a generous man, and everyone is a friend to a man who gives gifts. Proverbs chapter 14, verses 20 through 21. The poor man is disliked even by his neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Whoever despises his neighbor is a sinner, but blessed is he who is generous to the poor. What kind of friend are we? Are we one that thrives on honesty and the Lord, or are we one that says empty words and empty actions and has ulterior motives to the friendship? What kind of friend are you? And how are we doing as a Christian? Friends should help one another. David and Jonathan wanted to aid each other. Oftentimes, even when they don't ask. Like plants, for friendship to grow, there must be care for that friendship. You know, in order for a plant or a garden to grow, you need water, you need good soil, you need fertilizer, you need sunlight, you need the right temperature. So many things that go into that. Well, friendship is the same way when we talk about love and honesty and care and sacrifice, and that of being a Christian. The best friendship is one that has God in it. True friends will say what needs to be said. Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 6. Faithful are the wounds of a friend. Profuse are the kisses of an enemy. Psalm chapter 141 and verse 5. Let a righteous man strike me. It is a kindness. Let him rebuke me. It is oil for my head. Let my head not refuse it, yet my prayer is continually against their evil deeds. You know, in a good friendship, a true friendship, it's not a 50-50 relationship. It's a 100-100. That you're giving your all toward that friendship, to that other person. But how are we doing when it comes to being a true friend and helping one another? Some friendships get so close that the relationship is closer than that of family ties. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. In Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. I don't think it's talking about sibling rivalry there, but more loyalty. Their loyalty of a friend in times of calamity. It's not an absolute, but I think of my boys sometimes. Beckett loves to get one of the other ones in trouble. Loves to. But a true friend will stand by their friend. They'll try not to get them in trouble. Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 10. Do not forsake your friend and your father's friend, and do not go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor who is near than a brother who is far away. How are we doing when it comes to having good friends and being a true friend? But friends should demonstrate commitment and loyalty to one another. It shouldn't be one that is flighty, one that bounces from person to person just based on the season or the time of year or who has a little bit of money. But it should be one of commitment and loyalty. Look in 1 Samuel chapter 20. 1 Samuel chapter 20 verses 14 through 17. If I am still alive, show me the steadfast love of the Lord, that I may not die. And do not cut off your steadfast love from my house forever. When the Lord cuts off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. And Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, may the Lord take vengeance on David's enemies. And Jonathan made David swear again by his love for him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. That's about as close as you can get there as friends can be. That he loved as his own soul. Some of the newer versions say that he loved as his own life. He cared that much for him. They make a vow here. No matter what happens, we're going to have that love for each other, that commitment, that loyalty. In 1 Samuel chapter 20, skipping down to verses 30 through 34. It says, then Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. And he said to him, you son of a perverse, rebellious woman, do I not know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on the earth, neither you nor your kingdom shall be established. Therefore send and bring him to me, for he shall surely die. Then Jonathan answered Saul his father, why should he be put to death? What has he done? But Saul hurled his spear at him to strike him. So Jonathan knew that his father was determined to put David to death. And Jonathan rose from the table in fierce anger, and ate no food the second day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had disgraced him. Let that sink in right there for a minute. About what has happened to Jonathan here. But Jonathan still remains committed and loyal to David. Skipping on down there in verse 20 of 1 Samuel, look at verse 42. It said, Then Jonathan said to David, Go in peace, because we have sworn both of us in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord shall be between me and you, and between my offspring and your offspring forever. And he rose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. Again, thinking along the lines of that commitment and loyalty, we see that covenant there that's made between David and Jonathan. Their friendship stayed true until death. And true friends endure through good and bad times. Again, Proverbs chapter 17 and 17, we've looked at it. But a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born in adversity. Proverbs chapter 27 and verse 10. Do not forsake your friend and your father's friend, and do not go to your brother's house in the day of calamity. Better is a neighbor who is near than a brother who is far away. You know, we have to be careful with our friends and who we choose to be our friends. I'll give you an example of a young man that I knew. He had everything going for him when he was in high school. Good football player, good baseball player, good basketball player, was a track star, extremely fast. Went into the Army Reserves. Had a pretty good job. And he got mixed up with some friends because he had a pretty good job, was in the Army, had a little bit of money. And so these friends got to gathering around him. And they got into started by drinking, smoking marijuana. And one day his friends brought some synthetic marijuana. They smoked it. And he never was the same. He had a bad reaction to it. For lack of medical terms, it fried his brain. He had a young lady who was very beautiful, his girlfriend, sweet young lady. She tried her best to stay with him. He became abusive. Almost having like a split personality. She finally said, I can't stay with you anymore. She broke off their relationship. He became very distraught by that. He decided that he would go over here to Oxmoor, Green Springs area. Went into a pawn shop. Bought a pistol. Walked out in the parking lot and stuck it to his head. Took his own life. But it started by hanging around those people who were not true friends. That they had an influence on him to do things that he had never done before, ever. You see, an athlete of his caliber was drug tested all the time. He couldn't afford to test positive for any drugs being in the military. But he got some bad friends. They influenced him. And ultimately it cost him his life. That is the importance that good friends, true friends, should have upon us. Jonathan stayed a faithful friend no matter what, even though that it put him in opposition with his father. In 1 Samuel chapter 23, verses 15 through 18, David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph and at Horish. And Jonathan, Saul's son, rose and went to David at Horish, and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, "Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Saul my father also knows this." And the two of them made a covenant before the Lord. David remained at Horish, and Jonathan went home. What a powerful friendship that we see here. 1 Samuel chapter 20 and verse 41. And as soon as the boy had gone, David rose from beside of the stone heap and fell on his face to the ground and bowed 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept with one another, David weeping the most. The demonstration of emotions that we see between David and Jonathan here are real. I think oftentimes that men especially don't want to show emotion in a friendship. But remember who Jonathan and David were and who they became. Both of them mighty warriors, but both still showed true emotion for each other. Men can have feelings too. And they shouldn't be afraid to show it in a true friendship. Friends love one another, and that love should be unwavering. When Jonathan died, David showed true sorrow. In 2 Samuel chapter 1 there, beginning in verse 24 and reading through verse 27, "You daughters of Israel, weep over Saul, who clothed you luxuriously in scarlet, who put ornaments of gold on your apparel. How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jonathan lies slain on your high places. I am distressed for you, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant have you been to me. Your love to me was extraordinarily surpassing the love of women. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of war perished." It's not wrong to show feelings for true friends. We should. You know, if we think about even Jesus Christ himself, he showed emotions for friends. John chapter 11 and verse 35 says Jesus wept. There when it's talking about the death of Lazarus. And I'm not so sure there that he's crying because Lazarus died. Jesus knew that Lazarus could be raised. He had that power, and he did. But Jesus saw Mary and Martha, who were so upset about the death of their brother. You see, even Jesus himself wept when it came to true friends. What kind of friend are you? Are you a true friend? Are you one that loves? You're one that's honest. Are you one that stands up for your friend? That tells them when they're wrong? That's there when they need you? You see, as a Christian, we need to be a true friend. We need to be a true friend to each other. We need to lean on each other. We need to pray for each other. We need to encourage each other. Because we have the same goal, that goal of heaven. And we need true friends to help us get there. In conclusion this morning, true friendship is a valuable thing. You can't put a price on it. You can't put a price on true friendship. And by studying the friendship between David and Jonathan, perhaps we will learn to be better friends to others, especially to those who are Christians. You know, it pains me at times to hear Christians who worship at the same congregation. Well, I can't be friends with them. They're to this or they're to that. They're just not my kind of people. You know, the thing is about the congregation here at Pleasant Grove, as I look across the audience this morning, I don't know that there's a person in attendance that I could not call at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and say, I need you. That you would not say, where are you? I'm coming. I hope that you can say the same for me. That's true friendship. It's part of being a Christian. It's the beauty of it, that we are true friends with each other, that we're honest, that we're loyal, and that we love each other. I'll leave you with one verse this morning. Proverbs 18:24. We've already looked at it. A man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. We have those kind of friends if we're a Christian. And if not, why not? Are you that kind of friend? Are you a true friend? This hasn't been a study on how to become a Christian, or really how to get sin out of your life. But it is one of being a true friend and a true Christian, and the influence that a true friend can have. Hopefully it will make you a better friend to others, especially those of the household of faith. If you're not a Christian, why not? If you've got sin in your life, I'm telling you this morning as a friend, get it out of your life. And if we can help, we're all friends here this morning, we'll help you to be the best version of you that you can be. If we can help you in any way this morning, come as we stand and as we